Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Whether you're tuning in on the radio dial in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM, we welcome you all back to our program. Also, those tuning in through online affiliates around the world, including our iHeartRadio family, we're glad to have all of you with us as well. We talk about all the time about the importance it is for all of us to look after each other, that we are our brothers and sisters' keeper, especially when it comes to the young people and the elderly. Our next guest has written a powerful book that I think really addresses the issue of why we have to look after the elderly among us in our communities and throughout the country. We're excited to welcome attorney Michael Hackard to our program. His book is called The Wolf at the Door, Undue Influence and Elder Financial Abuse. We're going to talk to attorney Hackard not only about the work that he's been able to do, but also what led him to write this book. I'm going to mention some points that I think are so practical and timely for what we're seeing in the news today and what we've seen, especially for our radio audience here in Mississippi, and have him talk about that and let you all know how you can get your own copy of the book. But attorney Hackard, hello to you and welcome to the program. Glad you could join us.
Hello to you, and I'm so excited to be a part of your program today, Cyrus.
Well, I'm excited to speak with you. I read a lot of books each year. I tell people, Attorney Hackard, I am a self-professed nerd, but when I first heard about your book, I was so excited not only to read it, but also to see about how it can be able to help our audience, because unfortunately, as I mentioned in my introduction, we see young people being taken advantage of each and every day, and unfortunately we see the elderly being taken advantage of. First of all, what has it been like for you in your work to not only bring attention to this, but to be able to offer some assistance for those who find themselves being at a disadvantage?
Well, it's been exciting. It included a lot of unexpected benefits. I wrote the book because I felt that the book hadn't been written by others. It needed to be written as a cautionary tale in part to seniors and to those that care for them about the kind of elder abuse and financial elder abuse that they could be subject to. But it's had kind of widespread attention. It's been in many national journals and shows like yours that I'm so proud to be a part of, that I've talked to people all over the country about it. And of course, I get calls all the time about it. I hope one spinoff of it, and I'll put my own plug in here, is that lawyers around the country will pick up the cause of looking out for elders against elder financial abuse. It's something we do a lot, and I get a lot more calls on cases than cases that I can take. And it really is my hope that people will pick up this task.
For sure. Attorney Hackard, I'm going to stop for just a second. You started to break up really bad there at the end.
Okay.
I don't know if it might be the area that you're in or something, but it started breaking up really bad at the end. Then you got clear again at the end. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Okay.
Okay. Well, is that better now?
Oh yeah, that's much better.
Okay. I don't know what happened, but I'll clean this up. Okay.
Okay. No. That's good. That's good. We'll go ahead and pick back up. Well, Attorney Hackard, I think the thing that really gets me about the work that you're doing, even when I was prepping for your segment and reading the book, is that this book kind of walks you through not only what to look for, but I think also the steps that people can take. I think what I've seen locally here in Mississippi is that there are so many people who feel helpless. They don't know what to do when they may suspect that an elderly individual is being taken advantage of. Do you also hope that the book does provide almost a resource for those to be able to know the steps that they can take to be able to help those that they feel like are in need?
Yeah, I think the book is a terrific resource for people who have seniors who are somehow targeted for elder financial abuse. It's a good resource for seniors to help identify some of the benchmarks of the abuse, but very good help for those that help seniors. And even neighbors and friends and family members to look for some things that may surprise them, that someone very close to them could be the subject of elder financial abuse.
Yeah. And I think that the other side of it is to make sure that there is some action. And you give several examples of ways that this can be done. One of the things, as I mentioned earlier, is that you show not only, of course, what can happen when people are trying to take advantage of individuals, whether it's through the phone, through information that is being taken from them, but unfortunately, there are individuals who find themselves at the mercy of people in their own family and around them that do this as well. Is that part of the saddest aspect of this, to know that there are individuals who may be entrusted to take care of someone and they take advantage of that trust?
Well, that is sad, and it feels like a betrayal to the family members, even if because of the cognitive limits of the senior, that may not feel like a betrayal, but other family members looking on can truly look at, say it's a sister or a brother that's taking advantage of his or her parent. It is a rejection in one sense of the whole family, because oftentimes the family fortune and the financial health of the senior is imperiled by the action of that person. I'll add a little more, because and my evidence is anecdotal, but of course I do this all the time, and 90% of what our law firm does is estate trust and elder financial abuse litigation. Oftentimes the person who's taking advantage of the senior, if as a family member, is dependent upon the senior. Oftentimes that person has substance abuse issues or alcohol issues, is maybe not working, and is threatening in one way or the other to the senior. Threatening in this sense: if you don't take care of me, I'm leaving, and then you're going to the old people's home. I hear that one all the time.
Right. And you give I'm so glad you mentioned that, because you mentioned the example of Donna and Scooter. Of course, Donna being the mother, Scooter being the child, the one that was taking care of her, the son, and how the situation was. And I hear about this all the time, and I think this is why it's so interesting that we're having you on the program now, because you describe in the book the relationship being dominant subservient, where there is this undue influence that Scooter has over Donna that's in the book, who does have some medical issues, but kind of isolates Donna away from others, who Donna may have had other plans for her belongings and how her assets were going to be used. But, of course, there was Scooter being able to have this type of influence. And I think, the thing that when you wrote this in the book, and I want to read it for those who haven't read it, it says, all of Donna's past preferences for her estate are overridden by Scooter's real-time destruction of his mother's will. And I think, again, that's the sadness of this all. Again, I can't, as someone who was my grandmother's primary caregiver, for the last years of her life, I just can't imagine someone who would take advantage of someone somewhere. But, for you to be able to help individuals that way, is that part of the satisfaction, too, of the work, that knowing that you're able to help individuals find some type of satisfaction for what they're trying to get done, but also some type of help for their situation?
Yeah, it does provide terrific satisfaction. Of course, many times I'm not brought in until the senior has died. Even at that, though, it still provides satisfaction, because we're seeking justice and a sense of justice on behalf of that senior. It is particularly satisfying if we can get involved earlier and get the wrongdoer removed or somehow limited so that the wrongdoing can't occur anymore. And Cyrus, I'm glad you read that particular part of the book, because the whole idea of the undue influence is that it displaces another person's free will and results in inequity. And it happens all the time. Let's say it's a 40-year estate plan is just overturned sometimes in the last week of an elder's life, but many times, in the last months or last few years of an elder's life, when the elder's particularly vulnerable.
For sure. And I think that's it. And to be able to help someone that's in a vulnerable state is definitely something that all of us should want to be able to do. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome attorney Michael Hackard to our program today. He's written a book that everyone should have. It's called Wolf at the Door.
Well, my first encounter with this was nearly 30 years ago, and I was, say, a 10-year lawyer about that point. And my mother faced this in her own family. She was kind of a favorite child of her aunt, and things were going on. The aunt was getting isolated and would not speak with any of the relatives, and the aunt had a caretaker who would lock relatives out, who would not allow phone contact with the aunt, and basically created an immense amount of paranoia on the aunt's part that the only reason the relatives wanted to see her was they wanted to take her out of her house and put her in an old people's home. And that, at that point, I was a lawyer. I tried to help by calling law enforcement and utilizing whatever methods we could some 30 years ago. And the methods were just absolutely ineffectual. Law enforcement was no good. I don't mean they were no good, but rather the efforts were not any good because there weren't good supporting laws for it. Now we have almost through all the states, we have very good supporting laws so that when something similar occurs, we can try to work with law enforcement or adult protective services or with lawyers like me who, know their way around and how to deal with this. It's not 100% effective, but it's sure a lot better than it was 30 years ago. And, of course, the end result, Cyrus, was that my mother's, it was almost a $2 million estate. And my mother and other relatives and charities were to receive most of it. And by the end of the time that thing was litigated, the lawyer for the caretaker who got most of the estate, the lawyer and the caretaker took, say, 95% of the whole estate. It was terrible.
Gotcha. Well, I think too, and as we're having this conversation, to think that this is taking place, on a daily basis, that someone out there is either the victim of this or we know someone who is suffering this way. I think that is the thing too that is so big, and I think too, when I was reading this and knowing I was going to be speaking with you, I thought too of the idea that there are so many people who feel helpless, and this book gives so many different ways that we can be of service, but also frequently ask questions. I mean, was that important for you as well to be able to try to address some of the questions that might come up that maybe weren't directly discussed in other parts of the book?
Yeah, it was important, and I probably get about it's close to 1,000 calls per year from prospective clients, so I have a pretty good vista as to what's going on out there. And the kind of questions that people will bring up are like, my relative is not paying his or her bills and always paid them before, or my relative seems to have placed all of his trust into a neighbor that we never knew about before. That is the elder surrender of oversight, or you see suspicious money withdrawals or vanishing assets. So those kind of things, are something that people can look for as to what's going on in their loved one's life.
Yeah. I think, the expense is one thing that definitely comes up. There is a situation that I know of here, and they're in Mississippi, and that's why I say it's so appropriate that we're having this conversation where there was thought of a relative taking advantage of another relative, and, there are individuals in the family that were trying to get involved, and, of course, they kept being told, they needed to get an attorney. They need to get an attorney. Someone had to be appointed as a power of attorney, which you even address power of attorneys here in the book. Do you think the process is something else that people need to familiarize themselves with about what to do if they suspect that there is someone in the family who's been taken advantage of?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for them to look at. And you brought up a good point. It's frustrating because attorneys, cost money. Doors have to be kept open and malpractice insurance paid, all of those things. But it is, again, my hope that more attorneys will take up the cause to assist people and help guide them as to what can be done. Some of the laws, I'm not sure about Mississippi, although I spent a lot of time in Mississippi. I love the state, but I'm not sure what its law is with regard to this. But a number of states have provided for the allowance of attorney's fees for people that bring elder financial abuse actions. And that is a big help because that's a big, big hammer against wrongdoers.
For sure. What is your hope, Attorney Hackard, when people finish this book? And like I said, it is such a resource, and we're going to let our audience know how they can get it. But what do you hope this book does for them? And not only, of course, in planning for the future, but also in what they're looking at today, what's happening around them?
Well, I do hope it helps them with their own families. And for those that don't see the family, unfortunately don't have the family issues, it may help them even as to neighbors or friends or coworkers that face these issues because the issues are so common. So it is my hope that people get sensitized to this. And this is such an enormous problem, and it's one we don't think about very much. But, you know, there are about 75 million baby boomers in the United States right now. And with increasing longevity, like, you know, we're subject to more of the diseases like Alzheimer's that over 5 million Americans have. So it's to sensitize people to this issue and to hopefully help provide remedies in the future. And then on my own end, on the legal side, I hope that lawyers, even if they're young lawyers that can take up these causes, I'm encouraging lawyers to take up this cause. It's an important cause.
For sure. I totally agree with that. Again, the book is The Wolf at the Door, Undue Influence and Elder Financial Abuse. It's available through our friends at Amazon.com, either in print or the Kindle edition. The author is Attorney Michael Hackard. You all can definitely be able to get this book. I'll be writing my review on Amazon.com and helping to spread the word here with my audience as well, Attorney Hackard. And let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you?
Well, if they would like to, they can email me at hackard@hackardlaw.com, and that's HACKARD, and then at hackardlaw.com. And for your audience, if they're really interested, and I've done this for some other audiences like NPR, and I'd be honored if any of your audience would like a copy of the book for free, I'll send one to them, and I'll pay for the postage if they'll email me at the hackard@hackardlaw.com address. I just say if they do that, make sure you put your address in there where you want the book sent.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so
I'm
much
also
for that.
happy to have.
I'm
sorry. I'm also happy to have those Amazon sales. But any money that I get from this book, I contribute to the Alzheimer's Foundation of America. I really don't want to make a dime off the book, and so far that's true to form because I'm giving all of the profits, all of the income from it to Alzheimer's Foundation of America.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate that, and I think too. Again, I mean, this is such a timely topic. It's unfortunate that it is, but I'm so glad that there are attorneys like you, that are out there that are not only, making the information available, but also being able to offer assistance to those who are in need of it. So thank you so much for that, and I look forward to having you back on the program again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The pleasure is definitely all mine, and we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. You all make it a great one.